Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. I'm absolutely thrilled you're here today. Our goal is pretty straightforward. We are going to demystify the complex, and let's be honest, often intimidating world of digital finance. If you've ever felt totally overwhelmed by crypto jargon, you are exactly in the right place. We're going to cut right through the noise together and build your understanding from the ground up. Let's get to it.
Here's our roadmap for the day. First, decoding digital money. Second, the blockchain analogy. Third, buying, storing, and alternatives. Fourth, taxes and smart contracts. And finally, number 5, the reality of risk.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, decoding digital money. What exactly is crypto anyway?
At its core, cryptocurrency is just a purely digital asset. There are no physical coins rattling around in your pocket, no paper bills. Instead, it relies on advanced cryptography, basically just really complex encryption coding to secure transactions. But the absolutely crucial takeaway here, it operates entirely without a central issuing or regulating authority. There's no bank involved, no government overseeing it. It's just a pure peer-to-peer system.
Think about the cash we're all used to using. Traditional fiat currency, like the US dollar, gets its value because it's literally backed by a government. Cryptocurrency, on the other hand, well, it has zero intrinsic value. Its price is derived strictly from supply, demand, investor sentiment, and the underlying technology itself. It's actually a lot like a rare collectible, where scarcity is what really drives the price up or down.
Moving right along to Section 2, the blockchain analogy. Let's look at how this all works without a traditional bank. So, a blockchain, it's essentially a permanent, completely unalterable digital record book. But instead of being locked away in some corporate bank vault, it's distributed. It's shared right out in the open across a massive network of internet users. Every single transaction is a block of data, and those blocks are chained together to form a permanent, ongoing history.
Think of it like a giant shared spreadsheet. A traditional bank ledger is totally hidden and centralized. Only the bank gets to see it, and you just have to trust them to keep the math right. But a blockchain ledger, that is public and decentralized. Everyone on the network holds a copy of the exact same spreadsheet, and transactions are verified by group consensus. Because everyone's checking everyone else's work, it makes the whole system incredibly difficult to counterfeit.
So what does a transaction actually look like? Well, it's a pretty simple 3-step life cycle. Step 1, a transaction is requested. Step 2, the decentralized network uses all that cryptography we talked about to validate that the sender actually has the funds they're trying to send. And step 3, once it's validated, the transaction is added as a permanent locked block to the chain. Once it's there, it cannot be reversed. Period.
Now, you might be wondering, why on earth would people just volunteer their computers to validate these random transactions? Well, that brings us to mining. To process these secure blocks, the network relies on specialized hardware to solve incredibly complex math problems. As a reward for using their computing power and paying for all that electricity, these miners are issued newly created cryptocurrency. It's a pretty genius system, really. It's how the network secures itself while simultaneously minting brand new money.
All right, Section 3, buying, storing, and alternatives. Let's talk about actually entering the crypto market. You've essentially got 2 main avenues to jump in. On one side, you can take a totally hands-on approach using a crypto exchange. This means you're buying actual direct coins like Bitcoin or Ethereum. On the other side, especially with recent SEC approvals, you can just use a traditional brokerage to trade crypto exchange-traded products, or ETFs. Trading an ETF just means you're buying a security that tracks the price of the crypto. It completely removes the need for you to manage the digital asset yourself. However, if you do choose to buy coins directly, you are absolutely required to use a digital wallet. But here's the real kicker. A digital wallet holds your coins. Actually, scratch that. It doesn't hold coins at all. It holds the unique cryptographic private and public keys that prove your ownership on the blockchain. And listen to me on this one. If you lose your private key, you lose access to your cryptocurrency forever. There is no customer service line to call, and there is no password reset button.
When it comes to wallets, you have 2 main storage options. Hot wallets are software-based and stay connected to the internet. They're super convenient for active trading, but because they're online, they're inherently vulnerable to hackers. On the flip side, you have cold wallets. These are offline hardware devices, kind of like specialized USB flash drives. They are highly secure from cyber attacks, but they pose a very real physical risk. If you lose that drive and you lose your backup phrases, the whole shebang is gone.
Section 4, taxes and smart contracts. Let's dig into the rules and the automation side of things.
The blockchain isn't just for money. Certain networks, like Ethereum, support what are called smart contracts. Think of a smart contract like a giant automated digital vending machine. You put your money in, you make a selection, and the machine automatically dispenses the item. There's no clerk needed, the contract is written directly into computer code and perfectly executes itself, but only when the predefined terms are met.
Just consider the profound impact of that for a moment. What if a contract could execute itself perfectly without needing a lawyer, an escrow agent, or any middleman? Having secure, binding agreements enforced entirely by impartial computer code, rather than relying on a centralized legal authority or a bank, that could completely revolutionize real estate, global supply chains, and legal services. It literally removes the middleman from the equation entirely. But, all right, bringing things back down to earth for a second, we really need to talk about taxes. If you're operating in the US, it is vital to understand that the IRS treats cryptocurrency as property, not as a standard currency. What does that mean? Well, if you use Bitcoin to buy a cup of coffee, you are effectively selling a portion of your property. And yep, that triggers a taxable capital gains event based on the difference between what you originally paid for the crypto and its market value the exact moment you bought that coffee. Good record keeping here is absolutely crucial.
Which perfectly tees up Section 5, the reality of risk, the big watchouts.
Look, financial advisors and cybersecurity experts are quick to point out some very real, tangible dangers here. First up is the extreme market volatility. Prices can and do plummet overnight. Second, unlike your standard bank account, there is zero FDIC insurance, no safety net. We already talked about the devastating reality of permanently losing your wallet keys. And finally, the crypto landscape is unfortunately just rife with fake websites, celebrity endorsement scams, and the constant looming threat of hot wallets getting hacked.
$700 million. Let that number sink in for a second. That is the amount of funds raised by just one single virtual Ponzi scheme known as the BitClub network before the perpetrators were finally indicted. It highlights exactly why investors absolutely must be incredibly cautious in what is still a largely unregulated environment. Scammers can easily create the illusion of massive returns just by paying off old investors with new investors' money.
Because these digital assets don't have intrinsic value, rely so heavily on simple supply and demand dynamics, and lack traditional consumer protections, a lot of established financial institutions strongly advise treating cryptocurrency purely as a highly speculative asset. The general rule of thumb: only use money you can genuinely afford to lose and keep it totally separate from your traditional, long-term retirement portfolio.
And that brings us to the end of our explainer. We've covered the cryptography, the blockchain, how to store it, and of course, the risks. So now I'll leave it to you to reflect on your own risk tolerance. Based on everything we've unpacked today, do you see this technology as the inevitable decentralized evolution of global money? Or do you view it simply as a highly speculative gamble? Think it over. Thank you so much for learning with me today, and keep asking the big questions.